What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another video, and today let's talk about counter melody. It's going to be relatively short, but counter melodies are so important because they really add depth and interest to an existing arrangement. And so I want to kind of share a couple of examples from my personal repertoire, and hopefully that gives you a couple of ideas, and this will also help me avoid some copyright infringement. But anyway, before we actually get into that though, I want to give you my music theory fundamentals guide in case you don't have that yet. It basically is a guide that goes over the very fundamentals and basics of music theory in case you're kind of writing music by ear and you're not really sure the reason why music works, the reason why it sounds good. So we'll go over like scales, chords, harmony, progressions, melody writing, stuff like that, all condensed down into one digestible guide, and it's totally free. So if you want to check it out, just click the link in the box below. It'll take you straight there, and you can download it as my thank you to you for watching this video. So let's kind of dive into two kind of examples, but let's quickly define what a counter melody is. Essentially, when you have a main melody, typically the ear or the listener will focus on that the most, right? But to add additional interest, an additional melody is usually supporting that main melody to spice it up even more. So that's what we would call the counter melody. It's basically an accompanying melody that's doing something different, but it supports the main melody at the same time. When you have the main melody, like let's say holding a longer note and over a course of a few beats, then the counter melody can actually interweave itself within the main melody or above or below to basically keep the ear or the listener interested in what's going on, which is really, really cool. So essentially, when you are writing your melodies, after you have your core theme written out, it's a pretty good idea actually to see what kind of counter melodies you could put in there that still sounds like it's supporting the main theme, but it's not overstepping on the main theme. So in terms of an example, let me show you my song Spark, and I'll just show you the intro and a bit of the verse as well so you can hear what it sounds like, and then we'll kind of discuss where the counter melody is. So have a listen.
It's all too much for me, nearly impossible to see what could be on the other side when my hands are tied.
Okay, let's stop there. So right from the intro, you hear that the orchestration starts to build up, and then as soon as the verse hits, it's very bare. It's just literally the piano and the vocal, and in between the vocal words, like in between the lyrical lines, there's always an instrument kind of feeding in an additional melody. It's almost responding to the main melody in the vocal. So it's almost like a call and response type of thing, but I kind of like to think of it as a counter melody because at some points, the melody, that counter melody in the instruments is interacting with the vocal melody at the same time. So let's have a listen back from the beginning. So this main melody of that's the main melody, and then so you hear that bassoon rising up up the A major scale, about to hit that tonic. That is the counter melody right there. So you hear that high note in the flute holding that long A, that long note, giving room for the bassoon to take its place. So let's have one more listen. Here's the long note right there, and then bassoon comes up. The main melody again, and the oboe, and rise up, piccolo, and crash. Now vocal.
It's all too much for me.
Take a breath. Now, hear that alto flute take its place, right?
Impossible to see.
Now the clarinet repeats that same motive.
What could be on
Still holding the note,
other
goes up a little bit. Now the strings come in, right in the blank, in the empty spaces, and then resolve together, you know? So the whole point is when the vocal melody is not singing, when I'm taking a breath essentially, then it gives room for the instrumentalist to do a little bit more of their own melody. And so in that way, it keeps the ear interested throughout, and there's no empty space for the listener to be taken out of the experience, which is really important. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. Let me show you really quickly a very tiny excerpt from my other song once again. And this is the end of the female part, just before the modulation to the male part. And I'll just show you that the very short instrumental here.
I'll meet you once again.
And then it modulates. So essentially the main melody here is, and that's basically the core theme there. And you can actually hear that in the piano. So here it comes. Then it changes for the modulation, right? But while that melody part is playing, you can hear the counter melody in the flute coming down and almost adding another dimension to the theme. So then they settle in together into the modulation. So I basically have two melodies happening at the same time in two different instruments, but at the same time, it doesn't really distract the ear too much because it all sounds cohesive. So I think the key of a good counter melody is that it doesn't step on the main melody. There's many ways you can avoid this, right? Avoid stepping on the main melody is by trying different instruments in different registers. So the ear hears them as kind of two distinctly different instruments, but they're still working together in harmony. Also, you don't want to have them kind of moving together at the exact same time all the time because that's just regular harmony, right? In order to have a counter melody, they kind of have to be independently or rhythmically independent of each other in a way. So if I'm doing quarter notes in the main melody, maybe I'll do some eighth notes or 16th notes or half notes in the counter melody and vary that up a little bit. So there's always some form of independence in that in the two melodies that are happening at the same time, and that's really, really important as well. So yeah, hopefully that kind of makes sense. That is essentially the basics of counter melody and how I would incorporate it into my own music. Hopefully that gives you a couple of ideas. And if you have any questions about it, let me know in a comment below. I'd love to help you out. And if you have any questions about that. And if you're interested about just the basic foundations of music theory, you want to brush up on that and really make sure you're equipped to write music and know what you're actually doing, then I want to give you that free music theory fundamentals guide. It's totally free if you want to check it out. It talks about like the basics of scales, chords, progressions, harmony, all that good stuff, combined it into one guide, and I want to give that to you as a gift for watching this video. So click the link below, it'll take you straight there. And again, it's my thank you for watching this video. I'll see you tomorrow with another one, and have a great day. See you then. Bye-bye.